In this video, we'll see how to use equations to solve problems dealing with percent. So first thing we want to know, there's a helpful formula we can use to help us set up our equation. And that formula is part is equal to the percent times the whole. And remember, we want to change our percents to decimals when using them in the equations. So let's look at this first example here. Find 35% of 180. So 35%, clearly, that's my percent. And then, remember the keyword of points us to the whole number. So 180 is the whole. So it looks like I'm looking for the part here. So the equation I'm going to write is part equals the percent, and I'm going to change this percent to a decimal, times the whole. And I'm simply going to multiply 180 times 0.35, and I get 63. So the part is equal to 63. 63 is 35% of 180, and that makes sense. Here's the next example. A real estate agent makes a 4.5% commission on property she sells. Last week she made $5,962.50 in commission. What is the value of the property she sold? So I want to first identify the part, the percent, and the whole. Again, easiest thing to pick out here is the percent. This is definitely the percent. We got our percent sign after it. And then this next number, she made $5,962.50 in commission. And you're trying to figure out the value of all the property that she sold. So the value of everything she sold. Well, the value of everything she sold, that is the whole amount, the total amount. And this commission, she gets paid a part of what she sells. So that commission is the part. So I'm going to set up my equation. Part, which is $5,962.50, is equal to the percent. And I'm going to change this percent to a decimal by moving the decimal point over 2 places to the left, times the whole. And the whole is what I don't know. That's what I'm looking for, how much the value of all the property she sold. So to solve this, I just want to divide both sides by the coefficient. And when I take $5,962.50 and I divide it by, and if I divide this by 45 thousandths, I'm going to find out that the whole, the value of all the property she sold, is going to be $132,000. I'm sorry, $132,500. And that is the value of all the property she sold. All right, here's one for you to practice on your own. I want to identify the percent, the part, and the whole. The question here is asking what percent. So this is my variable. This is what I don't know. The percent is what I'm trying to find. Of 48, I've got that keyword of there. So of 48, keyword of is telling me this is out of 48. So 48 is the whole amount there. And then is 54, the keyword is 54 is the part. We can't think just because 54 is bigger than 48 that 54 must be the whole. It's definitely fine to have a part that's bigger than the whole. It just means our percent will be greater than 100. So my part is 54. And part equals percent times the whole. The percent is what I don't know. So it's going to call that x times the whole, which is 48. And of course, you know, I could have written it just like this, 48x. I just switch the order around. And I can divide both sides by the coefficient 48 here. So when I divide 54 divided by 48, I find that my percent x is equal to 1.125. But it does not mean that 1.125% of 48 is 54. That doesn't make sense because it's only a little more than 1%. What I have to do is I have to change this decimal here to a percent by multiplying by 100. So my final answer is going to be 112.5%. I want to find 18 hundredths of a percent of 325. So 18 hundredths of a percent, that's definitely my percent there. Of 325, keyword of, telling me that this is the whole. I am looking for the part. That's what I don't know. So part equals percent times whole. Part equals, change this percent to a decimal. Move the decimal 2 times to the left. 0.0018 times 325. And when I multiply this out, I'm going to get the part is equal to 585 thousandths. And last one here. In a recent survey of people in LA, 24% of the people said the Clippers would win the championship. If 1,260 people answered yes, how many people were surveyed? So I want to identify the part and the percent and the whole. Easiest to pick out here is the percent. So 24% is my percent. All right, so I want to know how many people were surveyed. And I know that 1,260 people said yes. So this is only the people who said yes. So this represents the part of the survey, or the portion of the survey of the people who said yes. So finding out how many people were surveyed, that's the whole. So when I set up my equation, my part is 1,260 is equal to my percent, which I'm going to change to a decimal first, times the whole. And I'm going to divide both sides by the coefficient to isolate my variable. And I'm going to see that 5,260 people were surveyed. So let's see if this makes sense. If 5,260 people were surveyed, 1,260 of them said yes. Yeah, it's about 24%. This is logical. And that's how we use equations to work with problems dealing with percent.